In this video, I want to present a detailed guide to the most commonly asked questions at American airline interviews and help you plan strong answers to these that will maximize your chances of getting the job. So let's start with an extremely common question that is asked in all airline interviews because it is something that comes up so frequently, unfortunately, and that is, how would you deal with an angry or upset customer? So I'm going to take you through step by step the elements of a great answer. So the first thing you say, and you've got to reassure them of this, is that you will always remain calm and you will never argue back. Be very clear about that. That immediately tells them you're not going to do the wrong thing. The next thing you say is that you will always listen actively to what the customer is saying and that you show that you care. Once you show the customer that you actually care about what they're saying, you're taking them seriously and you're trying to help them, that goes a long way to settling things down. The next thing you say is that you would sincerely apologize where something has gone wrong. You can also use the word de-escalate. That's a really good word to use in this situation. It means to calm down the situation, get everything under control. So you're not going to raise your voice. You're not going to shout back. You're not going to make it worse. You're going to be very calm and focus on getting the situation under control using various de-escalation techniques. The next thing you basically reassure them of is that you will follow the appropriate American Airlines policies. You're not going to make up your own policies. You're going to stick to all of the policies that you've been presented with in your training and follow those correctly. Then, to round off your answer, what you say is that your goal is to ensure great customer service and fix any problems and take that angry and upset customer and turn it into a positive story where something has gone wrong, but the airline sorted it out and everything is good now. That's ultimately where you want to go. So basically, say each of the things on this list and you'll have a nice, strong answer to this. The next question that you really need to prepare for is, what do you know about American Airlines? You've got to have done your research. And the way you've got to think about this question is you start by reeling off the basic facts. Then you want to show that you actually know more than most people. And then to really impress them, you want to show that you've done lots of research and you're really well prepared. This is really a test of your preparation. And if you have prepared well, you can really impress them with this question. So what I want to do now is run through some key facts that you can take to your interview to show that you're well prepared. And feel free to write any of these down, or once I've showed all the facts, to take a screenshot and remember these and learn them for your interview. So the first thing you do is you make sure you cover the really basic aspects. So say really simple things like, American Airlines is a major American airline, but then build on it and slowly make your answer stronger and stronger. So you're covering the basics and then moving out the way. The next thing you can say is that it's one of the world's largest airlines, and I would double check. It may actually be the largest airline, I mean passenger airline. They have been the largest in the world before, and they may get back to that. So I would check where they actually are and either describe them as the largest airline or one of the world's largest airlines. They operate international and domestic flights, so they are flying within the US and wider. The next thing you can say is that they are formed from many airlines. They started as American Airlines, but have taken in and merged or bought other airlines. The largest of these are Trans World Airlines, TWA, and US Airways, and they really make up a big chunk of American Airlines and really made the company expand much, much larger. The next thing you can say is that they are headquartered in Dallas, Fort Worth, and that the company is NASDAQ listed, meaning that they are on the stock exchange. They are part of the One World Alliance, and they have their Advantage program that offers air miles and loyalty rewards for those that stay with the brand and encourage people to fly with American Airlines. You can also say that they were founded originally all the way back in 1926. That's the earliest start of the company, but they only started flying passengers in 1936. So a little bit later. Another really nice fact about the company is their first pilot, the first person to fly under the American Airlines brand, was Charles Lindbergh, and he flew mail delivery flights. The next thing you can say is that they own the American Eagle brand and that they have lots of credit card partnerships, so you can get American Airlines branded credit cards that tie in with their loyalty program. They've got the Admirals Club for those that are very loyal to the airline and get extra perks because of that. And interestingly, there is actually an American Airlines museum dedicated to their history called the C.R. Smith Museum, and that's a nice thing to also mention. My top tip to really help you prepare and really show off is I would suggest that you take some time to read the American Airlines investor presentations. You can just Google American Airlines investor presentations and it'll come up. And then you can read their annual report and you'll get up to date information about how the company works and what the company is focused on. And I would mention in your interview that you've actually taken the time to read these. So, as I say, take any notes that you want from this or screenshot it. And I would recommend you do that reading, and then you'll be ready to really ace this question. The next question is a really simple one, but one that you do actually need to prepare for, and that is tell me about yourself. And with this question, you have to ensure that it is not a wasted opportunity, that you have to take advantage of this and make sure you get in the things that they want to hear. So let's look at how you structure an answer and the things that you want to say that they would like to hear. So you start by talking about your experience, then you talk about your personal qualities, the things that they want in a new hire, and then you explain your interest in the role. So you're saying, this is what I've done, this is what I am, and this is why I want to work here. So let's start with the experience. The first thing you do is you describe your career history, not in immense detail. You just give a basic overview of your career. You want to focus on the customer service roles or your most relevant work. So if you've worked in airlines, if you've worked in airports, that's going to be the most relevant. So you're going to focus mostly on that. If you don't have that experience, but you've worked with customers, maybe you worked in a restaurant, maybe you've worked in a shop, these are the sort of things that you want to focus on because it's probably the most relevant. If you're applying for a different role in American Airlines that's not customer focused, you want to talk about the most relevant experience that closely matches your role and show them that you've done similar things in the past so you've got the right experience. You want to show off any skills that you've learned, any training that you did, any licenses or qualifications that you have. Now is a good time to mention those. And then you want to explain in one or two sentences why you're extremely well qualified and well experienced and you've got the right skills and experience to do this job. They don't want to hear about really boring things like your pets. I'm sure it's very interesting to you, but they're not interested in it. Your personal history, where you went to school, what you did at age 10, they're not interested in that. Focus on the things that are going to get you hired. The next thing you do is talk about your personal qualities. So let's look at some ones that you can mention, and I would pick 3 or 4 of these to talk about. So you can say that you're highly professional, that you've got excellent communication skills, that you're someone that is highly reliable, that you've got an excellent attendance track record. So in your previous jobs, you were always there and you were always on time, that you're computer literate, so you can work computer well. If you do speak a second language, mention it now. They may never ask about it. So this is your chance to say, by the way, I also speak this other language, which is a great experience to have when working in an airline. And then the other thing that you can do is look at the job description, look at the job advert. They will say, we are looking for people who are this, this, and this. And you can say that you are those things in your interview because that's what they're assessing you against. Then for your interest in the role, think about why did you apply to American Airlines? Why do you want this job? And say 1 or 2 things about that. And we'll look at how to think about that in a little bit more detail in a later question. And then what do you like about the company? Why do you really like American Airlines? And we'll look at these 2 in detail a little bit later in the video, and you can pull that preparation that we're going to do later on how to answer those back to this question. And so really what you're doing is you're showing them you've got the experience, you're listing the qualities that you want, and you're showing them why you're interested in this job. And that is the way that you're going to ace this question. We can now move on and look at the question that I was just saying that we're going to look at, which is why do you want to work for American Airlines? And you want to have a good answer to this, because if they ask, why do you want to work here? And you've not really got that great an answer, it's not going to look good. If there is one question where I would strongly recommend that you take a pen and paper and actually write out an answer or type out an answer or do something bullet pointed so you know what you're going to say, this is a good one. You don't want to try and make this up on the spot. Actually write it out and learn it, and you'll be so much more confident answering this and you will score much, much better. So let's look at what you need to think about and what you should not say. So the first one is, why choose American Airlines? What is it about this airline you like? Why have you decided on this one? Some things you might say is it's a major airline, that you think there's going to be more opportunities with a major airline. There's going to be varied work. You might be flying domestically, you might be flying internationally, and that you see that as quite interesting, that you think there's going to be great career opportunities. If you're early in your career, you're probably going to be working more often on the domestic routes. So you can develop your career over time to build up to working on the longer routes. It's a growing industry historically and probably will be growing further in the future. Or if you've been a customer on American Airlines and you've had a really positive experience, you could mention that as well. The next thing is, how do your skills and experience match American Airlines? Have you worked in this sector before? Have you got lots of great customer service experience? Have you got qualifications that the company is looking for and that you think you'd be a great match and you'd be really good at the job? You can explain that now. Think about what interests you about the aviation industry. Why do you want to work in this particular industry? That's something you could talk about. Mention training and development. So when you work for American Airlines, you're excited to take part in their training programs that are very strong and that you think there's going to be great opportunities over time to develop a long-term career here. And whatever you do is you must try and be enthusiastic. If you sound not very interested or you give a slightly boring answer, they're not going to be impressed. Be enthusiastic, and by having planned out an answer and answered these questions, I can't tell you what your answer to these is. You have to answer them yourself, because this is about why you want to work for American Airlines. And if you've learned the answer, you can focus on delivering it really well, and that's going to help you a lot. Some things that you must not put in your answer. So the idea that you live close to American Airlines and this is convenient to you, don't mention that. That you're looking to get some flight benefits and perks and you think there's, really good pay and you want to travel and see the world, and American Airlines is going to pay for this for you. That's not a really great thing to mention. Don't describe this as a good starter job or give the idea that you're going to do this job for a bit until you can get something better. And really, anything American Airlines doesn't care about is not something you want to talk about. So think about, if you are interviewing someone else for the job, what things would you care about and what things would you not be interested in? And if you would say you wouldn't be interested in it, that's not what you should be saying. So spend some time planning this one. Use this slide to help you answer those questions and learn it, and you'll be super confident and give a really strong answer to these. The next thing I want to look at is some simple, quick fire questions where there's very simple answers that you can just learn and adapt to your own personal circumstances. So the first question I want to look at is, are you willing to relocate? And remember, they're asking this for a reason. So if they are asking this, they maybe have relocation in mind. So really the best answer is to say yes, because they've asked this for a reason. However, you may not want to say yes. Realize that if you do say no and they are looking to hire someone in a different location, then that may harm your chance of getting the job. But if you do not want to relocate and you will not relocate, you do have to say no. But there is a way of saying no that is much better than just saying no. So if they say, are you willing to relocate? And you just say no, and then want to just wait until they ask you another question, that's not really great. Let's look at a better way to say no. So you say, I am very interested in this opportunity, and my strong preference would be to be based out of this location due to strong ties here. However, I would, of course, be happy with significant travel and expect to spend time away from home regularly. So you are saying no to relocating, but you are offering some flexibility. You're trying to work with them, and that's much better than just saying a flat out no. So I would pick which one of these matches your circumstances and adapt it to be the right answer for you. And that's how you get through this question. The next question that could come up that's got a really simple answer is, when would you be able to start? And really, there's two possibilities. You could either start straight away, or you can start once you move from another job. And there's two ways to answer this. So the first option is, I can start at your earliest convenience. So you're not putting any restrictions on your availability, and you're handing it over to the employer to say when is convenient to you, because they're really asking this question to see, does what we want match up with what you can do? And if it doesn't, that could be a problem. The second option is, if you do have a job, you would say something like, I could start immediately after completing my notice period, which is. And if they are interviewing you, knowing that you already have another job, they will know that jobs have notice periods and that you can't start straight away. And it is the right thing to do to work your notice period. So that's the other thing you can say. The next question that you could ask is, can you work holidays and weekends? And there really is a very, very simple answer to this, and that is simply to say yes. Remember that they are asking this for a reason. They have evening and weekend and holiday working in mind. That is a part of working for an airline. You have to really say yes to that. If you do say no, they're probably going to not hire you because they are definitely needing people that can work those times. So the answer really is yes. And then to make your answer stronger, you can say, I understand that holidays and weekends are important to the airline industry, and I am happy to work at these times when required. Of course, you'd rather not work these times. No one would be enthusiastic about working on a holiday and working all weekends, but it is part of the industry. People do travel on holidays, people do travel on the weekend, and so you have to be open to that. So that's how you answer the question. Let's look now at the questions around tell me about a time. And these ones can be answered in a specific way, and we'll look at some examples and help you plan some great answers. Now, I want to look at a question that I've seen come up very, very often in American Airlines interviews, and that is tell me about a time you received criticism or feedback from a manager. And really, they're looking for certain things in this question. So you want to pick an example that says what they want to hear. So the first thing they want is that you actually listened, that the manager told you weren't doing something very well or you had something to improve, and you actually listened to them. Then you actioned it. So you actually did something about it. You changed what you were doing in response to the criticism or the feedback. And then, most importantly, you improved. That's what they're looking for. It's not difficult. Just pick an example of where you got feedback and you got better at your job because of it. That's what they want. They don't want people that get feedback, ignore it, disagree with it, have an argument, and then stay terrible at their job. They want people that get feedback and get better, because if they hire you and you're someone that responds well to feedback and uses it to improve, they are going to hire a better employee. So let's look at how you actually answer it. And you use what's called the STAR technique. So that's what I've got on the left. STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. So let's make up an example situation that'll show you a good way to answer this. So my situation that I've made up is early in my career when I was 18, I sent an email asking another member not to forget to bring me some documents. So that's another team member. You've basically sent them an email saying, don't forget to bring these, I need these documents. Now, I've picked a time early in my career because that's not exposing a weakness. So if you talk about an early time in your career when you just started work, you're probably going to be someone that needs lots and lots of support because you're brand new to working. And so by talking about those early stages, you're not exposing any weakness, and you are at a time when you would need lots of feedback. And then the task, give them some background and tell them what you actually needed to achieve. So my manager noted the email was quite abrupt and informal. They showed me the correct way to draft a professional email. So this is quite a good manager that's pointing out the problem and then showing you how to fix it. And then the task is I needed to improve my email etiquette. So the actions that you take. So I preemptively apologized to the employee I sent the email to. So you didn't assume that everything's going to be fine. You actually said, I'm sorry for that email. I should have been more polite. I shouldn't have been so abrupt, even before the employee maybe even complained. They might not have been bothered by it, but you recognize that you've made a mistake and you went straight in to fix it. And then you say, I always ensure all emails are formal, clear, and professionally written. I also always consider the recipient's feelings when reading the email. So before you send it, you think about how the email sounds, and you're always professional in that. So the result is, as a result of the feedback, my communication skills improved. I really appreciated the feedback my first manager gave me, as this has helped me immensely in my career. So you're finished it by saying that you're thankful for the feedback, that you appreciate it, it made you better, and that was a good thing. And that's how you answer it really positively. The next one that you should prepare for is tell me about a time you provided great customer service, because this is, of course, very important. So again, like the last one, find a situation where you found a problem, where something wasn't going perfectly well, that you fixed the problem, or a customer had a problem and you were the one that fixed it, and you've got there a good answer. So you really want to focus on something that you did that made a customer feel happy and solved anything that went wrong. So you follow the STAR technique. So situation, task, action, and result. So the situation, just say when this happened. So what job, what time, and what was going on at the time. What's the task? So what did you need to do to make sure the customer had a good experience? What was the requirement to fix the problem? The next thing is, what action did you take? So what did you actually do to ensure that the customer had a good experience? And then the result, what did the customer say? Did they post a positive review? Were they thankful? That sort of thing. And then what did you achieve? how did you transform this to be a really positive experience for the customer? And that's how you answer it. So think back of all the times when you've worked with customers and think about a time where you made, say, an unhappy customer happy, or you went above and beyond, and that's going to be a great answer. Some other ones that I would have examples ready for, because these have come up in past experiences in American Airline interviews, and that is where you've worked with a difficult manager. That's a really difficult one to answer, so I'd prepare for that. Where you dealt with adversities, you struggled or you failed, or you handled a really difficult customer. These are some other ones to prepare for, and it's a good idea to just have an example ready for each of those. Maybe just 1 or 2 lines, when it was and what example you're going to go to, and that will really help you be well prepared. And then before we finish, here are some questions that you might want to ask at the end of your interview. So they'll say at the end, do you have any questions for us? And it's bad to not have any, so let's look at some you might use. So you could say, I am of course very interested in the position. Can you explain what happens next in the hiring process at American Airlines? You could ask, can you tell me more about the team and organization you built here at this department of American Airlines? Learn about your colleagues, learn about how your job fits in. You could ask, is there anything that you would recommend a new hire at American Airlines do to be really well prepared if successful? And if they suggest things that you could do to prepare, say that you're going to do those, make that commitment. You could say, what is your favorite aspect of working at American Airlines? And when they say what they like about the company, you can share in that enthusiasm. And then what you want to do is end on a positive. And remember to thank the panel and all the people that are interviewing for their time, and then remind them of your interest in the job and that you're really interested in joining the company. And then to make sure you don't do the wrong thing, don't ask about transfers to another location. Say, would it be possible if I get the job to move to the other side of the country? Well, no, they're employing someone to work here. Don't mention that. That's a conversation to have much, much, much later once you've been with the company for some time. They're hiring to staff that location. Don't ask about benefits, free flights, discounts, anything like that. Don't ask for time off. You haven't even got the job yet and you're already trying to get time off. That's going to look really bad. And don't try and negotiate your salary. The only time you ever negotiate a salary is after you've got a job offer, because that's the time when you have more negotiating power. So I hope this was helpful to you. I wish you the best of luck in your American Airlines interview. If it was helpful, please like and subscribe below. And finally, thank you very much for watching.